Hello and welcome to this special series of Ingram Micro's B2B Tech Talk podcast, Coffee with Women in Tech, with your host, Harpreet. This is a show where incredible women in technology share their stories and successes. Why should a woman consider a career in tech? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this series, where you'll learn why tech is just the place to be for women.
Show me your mug, Jennifer. I've got one too.
Here we go.
Wow.
They're very clever. I like them.
Today, I have two incredible ladies with me whom I'm lucky enough to work with, and they inspire me every single day. I have here Jennifer Anaya, SVP Global Marketing for Ingram Micro, who is recognized as one of the most powerful women in the IT channel by CRN. Jennifer is celebrated for her creativity, collaborative spirit, and cool capability to inspire and help channel partners. She also enjoys skiing. Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you, Harpreet.
I also have Maria Jackson, Director of Marketing, Ingram Micro UK, with an accomplished track record of business impact, digital transformation, and building high-performance marketing teams. She's also the recipient of AI Influential Businesswomen of the Year. Outside of her work, her time is spent with her 3 children. Hi, Maria. How are you?
Yeah, I am good. Thank you, Harpreet and Jen. It is great to be here today. And I'm very excited about my Women in Tech mug. Just get that little plug in for the mug.
Great to have you here. And I have to add, Maria is literally in the next room, but we are social distancing. So, talking of social distancing, last few months with COVID and lockdown have been strange, to say the least. Nothing like most of us have ever experienced in our lifetime. What is the one thing you will never do again? Jen, do you want to go first?
One thing I will never do again. Wow, that's a big question. Well, I would say, I'm rather enjoying having the freedom to be able to work and then go on a walk. And so I think what I'm never going to do again is constantly work office side. I am a person who, if I'm home in our home office, I go to the office. I think I'm going to manage my schedule a little bit differently going forward and take some time maybe to work from home a little bit as well as the office. Of course, I'm going to be on the road quite a bit, I would think, next year. So I think maybe that's what I'm going to do.
And I think that will be true for many people, because most people who would have realized that there is an alternative way which it could be equally productive. What
Absolutely.
about you, Maria?
I echo what Jen was saying, but also I will never, ever homeschool again. I tell you what, I will never, ever take teachers for granted. Ditto. What a lesson in being a working mum with 3 children. Yeah. Never want to go there again.
I hear you, Maria. That's a great one.
Yes, now that's brilliant. So talking about technology industry, now very few of us are getting into tech by choice. I mean, I landed here by chance myself. So Jennifer, how did you start your career in technology, and was it expected?
I started it actually when I moved back from living out of state, my home state that I grew up in, and got a really interesting job for a PR firm that represented Toshiba. And so I just sort of jumped in with 2 feet and really learned a lot. I realized at that point, whoa, there was a lot of detail and information. And, at that time, portables, because we were never allowed to call them laptops, portables were very technical, and there was a lot of discussion about speeds and feeds and how and this and that and this, lightweight and all that stuff that we had to learn and understand, because at that time as well, product reviews were very important to a company like Toshiba. So fast forward, I realized that it was a really interesting business. And that's what kept me hooked in technology. But I will have to admit, I am like the least technical person that there is. I understand the concepts around it, but I am not technical at all. So it was really the business side that's kept me hooked in.
That's really interesting. So what surprised you most about it, about the whole technology industry?
What surprised me the most? I would say it just how fast it was growing, and and how much opportunity there was, because at that time too, and this is quite a while ago, really it was high tech. That was the technology business, right? But there was opportunity for technology to be embedded in a lot of places, and there was a lot of discussion even then about automobiles and just our home tech, like where technology was going to go. So that's really surprised me, because I didn't expect that. I'd worked in the tennis shoe industry. I worked for K-Swiss. So it was my first job out of college. If anyone's a tennis player, you would know K-Swiss. So I worked there. I worked also in advertising for a lot of different business-to-business type of companies, food service and others. So I hadn't had experience the tech industry, and the growth in those other sectors just weren't at the same rate that the potential was in technology.
And that is very true. What about you, Maria? Did you always want to be in tech?
No, not at all. I always sort of hankered after marketing type roles, whether it was PR or sales promotion that we used to call it back in the day. I knew that was sort of my thing. But yeah, I landed into what was then GEC in the UK, but then got swallowed up into the Siemens business. And I think it's working for such a big corporate like that, you suddenly have this world of opportunities of how to drive your career, and just seeing how fast as we mentioned, how fast it was moving, and how clever the tech was, really starting to see the solutions that our business was helping deploy. You felt like you were on a journey as well. You were like there genuinely helping people as well, which was rewarding. Yeah, and then I found Ingram, which about 6 years ago. And actually, I thought it was fast-paced before, but I think we might have been like sleeping dogs. I love Siemens. Can't speak highly enough. They were the best business ever. But maybe it was just our department. But wow, it's like a whole nother game here. It's like, you're dealing with so many vendor brands and so many very talented marketing people within those brands, that are demanding, and that they have got very clear agendas of what they want to drive, that you are always on your toes, which I absolutely love. There is never a day where we're chilling back and kicking our feet up in the air and wondering what to do. It's full on, which I would miss terribly now. I could not have this crazy environment. But I think it is, I think you probably either love it or hate it. Like if you're not on that wave, it wouldn't be your thing. But the people that stay, I think, absolutely stick, because they thrive off it, which is great. It's great to be in that environment, I find. Yeah.
Yeah, and I second that. Yeah, it's a fantastic and very different environment, and no 2 days are the same. So it would be very hard now to go back to, say, a slower paced environment. So if I am a woman outside the industry, what sort of things could I do in terms of training and learning that would help me have a career in tech or drive a career in tech?
Yeah, from my side, I think any exposure you can get from, working alongside some of these tech brands, and that sounds like a bit flippant, like how do I get exposure? But if there is a way, and putting yourself out there, and like leaning in, like Sheryl Sandberg says, like finding opportunities to look for business mentors, finding ways that these people within these companies want to invest some time in you to help drive and grow your career. I know, I've had mentors over the years. Some of them have been more formal mentors. And then there are people, a bit like Jen, who are a mentor from afar. I mean, they don't even realize they're a mentor, but just small amounts of time with someone can give you exactly what you need to consider how you can take your next step within a company. So I think getting any type of exposure for people that are already in the tech world, who are happy to give up their time to help develop you. In the UK, we're looking at lots more around apprenticeship schemes, and we today go out to schools and unis to talk to young people about careers at Ingram. And I think any of those opportunities, if they come by someone's way, I would just grab them if there's an opportunity to start talking tech with someone who's already in the world. Yeah, because once you're in, you're in. Yeah, there's no way out. I don't know, Jim, from your side.
Oh, no, it's very true. I think that's excellent advice. You know, doing some informational interviews with some folks who are in the industry just to learn and understand the different aspects of it. Another thing is I watch every morning here in the US. It's CNBC Squawkbox. It's a fun show, just all about what's going on in the stock markets and in business. And so they talk a lot about technology, and you can read and see what are analysts saying, what are people saying about the business and about the companies in the business. You know, just today there was a whole thing about Spotify because they signed an agreement with Universal Records to be able to share data, right? That all of the listeners on Spotify, I know my 15-year-old daughter is a Spotify listener, like constant. And so, you know, what are they listening to? What, you know, what's trending? All of that kind of data that they can then share back with the music industry so that they can inform and understand what kind of experience they're providing back into, you know, a channel such as Spotify. So like that's a music business. Like that's a cool hit business that I think a lot of people would be, you know, interested in working in, but that's technology and it's AI that's driving that, which is artificial intelligence. So technology is really in every place. So I also just say, just jump in somewhere in the stream, so to speak.
Yeah.
And give it a try.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Maria brings up a great point about a company like Ingram Micro, because we do have a portfolio of a lot of different businesses that we manage in technology. We're not stuck in one area, you know, and stuck in one type of technology. So that gives us an advantage of having somebody come into a company like ours and be able to experience so many different types of technology, business models around the technology, as well as just, you know, who and customers that are buying it. And we're in a B2B, we're in the middle of a B2B whole marketplace or ecosystem of hundreds of thousands of companies, right? So we have a very kind of bird's eye view into what's going on in the business. And that's a unique position. There's other companies too that you would have a similar experience with, right? Where you can check things out and then figure out what appeals to you most, and then start to sort of build relationships and get to know people maybe in that sector. So those would be my thoughts on that.
Very valuable advice from both of you, and valid points actually. So Maria, you've had a remarkable career journey. What opportunities you'd say are available to women in tech?
Wow. I think there are opportunities throughout the whole, you know, the scale of roles within the tech market. But I mentioned before about leaning in. You know, I think as in any business or any sort of vertical market that you're looking at, I think people do have to take that sort of initiative. They do have to put themselves forward.
Jennifer, you've clearly carved a very successful career in the channel. What are the biggest challenges that you've faced in this industry?
Well, let's see. You know, I would say I haven't really faced a lot of huge challenges. I think that, you know, you wouldn't face in any other industry. What I will tell you is that because there aren't as many women in the industry, it is, you have to get very comfortable walking into a room full of all men. I remember probably like 6-7 years ago, I walked into a room and I literally counted 8 women in the room, and 2 of the women in the room were our event planners for the event. So that is the kind of thing that I think is a reality. That being said, that has changed quite a lot in the last 6-7 years in our industry. And it's because I think more women are asserting themselves to join the industry. We have quite a lot of women-owned businesses who are our customers throughout the world, and that's exciting to see. I would say there's a lot more women also who are becoming executives inside of the companies that we work with, such as Microsoft. And, you had a woman who was a CEO of IBM for many years, right, for example. So that's exciting to see as well. And I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity throughout this industry for women. And the more that we can encourage and be sort of women who are helping other women to make their way in and to pave a path for them, to support them. I look at my daughters and, they know where I work and what industry I work in. They don't even think about technology really. To them, it's all the same because they are so technically, enabled with everything they do. So I think that's going to change a lot, having younger women coming in, either from university or, from different paths coming into the industry. So that will help a lot. But the other challenge is just the same challenge that all women have in any business environment, which is, putting yourself into a seat at the table, asserting that, and speaking up, and not being afraid to, be a part of the conversation or to share your expertise and your opinions. As women, we kind of have a tendency to feel like, well, I don't know as much as the other, men around the table, so I'm not really going to say anything, right? And we might feel like, well, in order to take that job, I'm going to need a lot more training. Like, I'm not prepared for that. And that's just, those are kind of normal as you, read more and more and learn more and more. Those are kind of normal feelings that a lot of women have in a business environment. And those are the kinds of things we just need to get over. And realize that we are smart enough, we are capable enough. There's many things we can do as women, and you just need to sort of, put yourself out there and put yourself into the game, and you'll see, you'll be a great player.
Maria, what do you think would need to change within the organization? So Jennifer, laid out some really good points that women can do to actually assert themselves or be more confident in this industry, or any industry for that matter. What do you think the organizations could do to support that?
Yeah, and I think a huge amount has been done. If we went back 10 years around diversity and inclusion, I feel like more progress has been made very recently. It's as if we had sort of years where, I'm going back a bit like Jen was saying, you go to conferences and just, it would just be a sea of dark suits, guys in dark suits. And then suddenly, people then started talking about diversity and inclusion, and there'd be policies, and there would even be like, a head of diversity position. There was like tick box exercises, things that happened. And I think we've realized shifted now a lot of gears where it is companies are having to be much more accountable and have real sort of tangible actions that we are, delivering. So whether it is through things like mentoring programs, talking to our local community to bring more talent into the business, I think there's been a huge shift. Even it feels like to me, in the last year, where everyone really sees this, they see the benefit of having such a diverse workforce. The ideas and the creativity that a mixed group of people will bring to the table is far stronger than maybe some of the more old school teams that we used to have. So I think there are huge gains that organizations are now making. It is very much part of the fabric now of the business, rather than going back 10 years more of a policy document. Big changes have happened.
Yeah,
we're on the way. Still more to do, but we're on the journey. I feel like it's the end of the beginning, if that's a thing. Yeah.
That sounds promising. And I think an important shift actually for embedding those things rather than a tick box exercise.
Yes. Yeah.
So if Jennifer, if you had to say one thing to a woman outside of tech right now, what would you say to her? Why should she consider a career in technology?
I would say because there's a great opportunity in this industry, and it's not just into high technology. I think, like I mentioned, there's technology that's being embedded into almost everything. I mean, our industry analyst firm IDC actually a couple years kind of pointed out and have been tracking that almost every company is becoming a technology company. One that sort of stood out for me, well, actually two that stood out for me were Campbell's, the soup company. They apparently had purchased a startup that tracked nutrition. And they did that for two reasons. One, to understand their market a little bit more. They knew that they needed to change their products to be a little bit more nutritional. And they wanted to also introduce lines that had, that were more kind of like a farm to table type of approach or feel to it. And so they purchased this company to learn a lot more and to gather, data again, that artificial intelligence. So that to me was fascinating. Right, to take a consumer packaged goods company like that, right? Another one was John Deere, the tractor company, right? And they have this entire cloud that they've built that actually informs farmers of weather patterns and when are a good time to plant, and sort of what's going on in terms of supply and demand. I mean, just fascinating to me, right? And that there's a whole ecosystem of developers inside that cloud working. So every company is becoming a technology company, and the more that as a woman that you could come from a technology company into those companies with experience and knowledge, that just makes you even more valuable as a person and a worker inside of that company. You're bringing a whole different point of view and experience that they want and they need, and they're going to be willing to pay for. So jump in, both feet. There's lots of opportunity in our industry. I'm on the marketing side. You can, if you're a technologist, you can be in the technology side. There's lots of companies looking and wanting to hire women. Finance, pretty much any type of discipline or interest that you might have in your career, you can find it in the technology industry.
Yeah, and it's interesting if you look at the 2008 credit crisis, those disruptive economies that emerged out of that, like the Uber effect. It will be very interesting to see, as we come out of the current COVID situation, what businesses like spring up from the ashes of, people that have got, innovation and ideas to using tech to change our lives in ways we never realized we needed. But how do we live now about Airbnb? And it's going to be interesting, a great time for tech, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So listening, this is brilliant advice. So here. Okay, so if you could time travel, Maria, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, good question. I would give to my younger self. I probably there's lots of advice, but I would probably say just believe in yourself. I think for many years probably I plodded is the wrong expression, but I sort of like meandered along without really maybe pushing myself forward when I could have done, and sort of not thinking beyond maybe what was just what I could see as the obvious like next steps in my journey. I just sort of did my annual development review, and I didn't really push myself. And then when I did start pushing things, it's like, actually I can do this. You know what I mean? It's like, actually the people you think are like really smart, who were like miles ahead, they're smart, but they're not that smart. And suddenly you can start, not putting a limit on what you can achieve. And be willing to ask for help and not be daft. Not saying things are going to be daft, but asking people, I don't understand. And how can I learn and grow? Yeah, just asking and throwing yourself at it.
Courage to be able to push yourself and not be afraid that you're not good enough or smart enough, or just having that confidence sometimes and that leap of faith in yourself.
Yeah.
What about you, Jennifer? What advice would you give to your younger self?
Similar advice. I would tell myself to stop doubting, who I am and what I'm capable of. I had, when I was in high school, I actually had gotten an opportunity to go to a training through a makeup, beauty sort of makeup company to become a top salesperson at and go from like retail business to retail business. And I was in high school, right? And I kept sitting in this training with other people who were much older than I was. And I kept thinking, like, I'm too young to do this. Like, what am I doing? I can't do this. Obviously, they thought I could do it because I wouldn't be sitting in the training if they didn't. But I just kept doubting myself, and I doubted myself right out of doing that, right? And so it just because this whole being uncomfortable about being that youngest person sitting there, right, and not really knowing as much or having experience to be able to know that I could do that, right? So I think that's what I would have said to myself, is just go for it. What have you got to lose, really? And try some things out, and you may like some things and find out, it might surprise you. And there's other things you might find out, yeah, that doesn't work for me. I don't like that. And that's okay. You don't have to have a straight line path in your career from like point A to point Z or Z. You just don't have to. You can find and explore, and I think that that's what makes it even more interesting too.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the things we tell ourselves and the things we talk ourselves out of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So where can we learn more about you?
I don't know. I suppose LinkedIn is somewhere where I would normally share content about, things that are going on. But yeah, it would be very work focused. I think with the great thing with the current situation is I think a lot of people are getting much more involved in virtual events, panel debates, discussions. I feel like it's like open like Pandora's box of all the things we should have been doing, but we're now doing them. So there's going to be a lot more, I think, more virtual discussions that I am hoping to be part of.
Same kind of thing. I mean, I'm on Twitter pretty regularly, LinkedIn, of course. I do quite a few of these types of panels, or just reach out, if there's something particular that I could help with or I could answer. I'm happy to engage in a conversation with anyone. And I feel like that's my responsibility as a senior vice president at a large company. My responsibility is to help other women to get in and get exposure, get visibility. It's one of the things that I'm really passionate about at Ingram Micro, and helping, our younger females and all females to, shine, because we have so much incredible talent at this company. And so the more that we can help people be visible and get access to, projects and things that they can have visibility and how brilliant they are, that's something I'm very passionate about doing too.
Yeah.
That's great. Women helping women is the best way.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Perfect. This has been a fantastic chat. So thank you very much, Maria and Jennifer.
Yeah.
It has been an absolute pleasure to have you both on this podcast. And thank you to everyone who's listening. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this special series, Coffee with Women in Tech, from B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro. This was hosted by Harpreet Narang. Tune in again to listen to another great story. To not miss an episode, subscribe today in your favorite podcast platform.